So, Star Wars. Let's talk about Star Wars. There's a new Star Wars movie called Disney's Star Wars, Episode 3.8, Rogue One, Things I Know, the movie. And it just came out and is everywhere. It has 48,000 screenings just in my city alone, just in one theater. And it pushed movies out like La La Land, which I also saw, and it was a million billion times better than this movie.
Is that gonna happen every time?
I think so.
How are you gonna be a revolutionary if you're such a traditionalist?
But this film, Rogue One, does to Star Wars what Into Darkness did to Star Trek, if you know what I'm saying. This movie is the most fan-service-y movie ever. It feels like a fan film, which is bizarre for Star Wars. And that's not to say that fan service is a bad thing. It's perfect to keep people that like your movies around. You kind of have to have fan service at one point or another, but when it takes over an entire film, that's when it becomes very, very scary. And scary in the sense that we're getting, like 300 more Star Wars movies? And this is only the second one that Disney's produced, and already it's so pandering and fan service-y. I've already had this discussion with quite a few people that have tried to rail me for not liking the movie and wondering what I thought was so fan service-y about it. And my response tends to be pretty much everything. Anything that isn't quote-unquote new was pandering to the audience. When C-3PO and R2-D2 randomly just show up for a scene, when Moff Tarkin is a distracting CGI character, when Princess Leia shows up and for one scene and is a distracting CGI character that does nothing, when Princess Leia's when Princess Leia's adopted father shows up for one scene and is distracting, when the guy that gets his hand chopped off in A New Hope shows up for one scene for no reason, and his little butt-faced friend. It's all things like this that made this movie very difficult to sit through because of how stupid it felt. It felt like this movie had 45 minutes of substance and then filled in the remaining hour and a half with just panderment, if that's a word. And it's a very simple story, and it's a completely inconsequential one. And I know that it has a big sway on the universe and everything, but we didn't need it. We knew the outcome, we knew the story and basically everything that happens in the story with that line or two of dialogue from A New Hope. We knew that they got the Death Star plans. Great, we know that they accomplished their task. Whoever was in that little rebellious thing that got the plans, they're not around anymore. So why do we need this movie? That's my biggest question to Rogue One. We don't really need the movie. But I was willing to give it a chance because if they decided to do crazy things with it and just go kind of off the rails and just make their own movie, I would have been completely fine with that. That would have been really fun, I think. But they did exactly what I was afraid of, and they went the Disney route. They made it horribly pandering, very safe, and everything happens exactly how you'd think it would happen. Except that the first hour is horribly unbearable. And the reason that the first hour of this movie sucks so hard is because the new characters are flat. The new characters I just don't care about at all. All of them. Felicity Jones as Gal Gadot, I don't even remember her name. She is so boring as a lead character. She doesn't do anything. She barely says anything. She runs around and goes places that the script wants her to be with her rebellion pals that just kind of follow her around. No, they don't do anything, and none of them are interesting. Donnie Yen is the only one that has any charisma on screen.
Take hold of this moment. The force is strong.
And he has a stick and says, "The force with me, I am with the force," or something like that. That's all he does, and he has more charisma, because he actually seems like he was having a good time being there, whereas Felicity Jones was like, "I'm in this movie now, and I got Academy Awards before, and now I'm in this Star Wars movie." It's like Jennifer Lawrence. She felt like Jennifer Lawrence in X-Men. That's how Felicity Jones feels in this movie. She just doesn't seem like she cares to be there. And it kind of ruins the first hour or so of this movie, because the first hour they just kind of jump between different places. They go here, and then they go here, and then they go here, then they go here, and they go here, and they do things, and they do things, and they do things, and they do things, and they talk to people, and they talk to people, and it's just a collage of different places that these people go that we don't care about. It's just, the first half of this movie is a huge mess. It's very bland and dull and poorly put together, poorly written. There's no good characters to care about. So you just kind of sit there and passively look at a screen that has colors and explosions occasionally with a lot of people talking, and Felicity Jones seeming like she's not want to be there. But the movie kind of kicks up in the second half. It's still not a good movie in the second half. It's a very acceptable, passable movie. There's some great action scenes later on. There's some fun banter between characters, and I was very happy that Disney killed all of the new characters. And I said this was a spoiler review, so if you're mad at me right now, it's your own fault. But I was happy that they killed everyone in this movie. I wanted them to die from frame one, really. I just didn't care about any of them. The movie gave me no reason to care about any of them, so I was satisfied when they all died. Granted, they all died in the most dramatic, heroic way possible, and it was horribly generic, pandering deaths, but at least they killed them all. I mean, for one, I would have loved to see someone just kind of walk up behind Felicity Jones and shoot her in the head. Not heroic, nothing, just dead. And it's kind of like snaps you out of the movie, like, holy crap, she's dead. That would have been great. Or when the director dude, I think his name's Ben Mendelsohn, the actor, when he just walks up to her and is pointing a gun at her for 5 minutes, and then Accent Man shoots him. Like, where did Accent Man come from, for one, and why didn't Director Man shoot her? Why did he have to explain his evil plot to her? He knows that she's trying to send the Death Star plans. Just shoot her in the head right there. You had every opportunity. What are you even a villain? Come on. But that's the thing with this movie, is that there's so much in it that is completely inconsequential and forgettable. Like, I don't remember half of the stuff that happened in this movie, and I saw it only a day or two ago. It doesn't sit well in my brain. Nothing clicked with me, except for people exploding and guns and ships flying around. Like, that was the only fun part of the movie, because it felt like there was actually stakes to what was happening, you know. But that's it. That's really the only parts of the movie that I enjoyed. Really, it's just a horribly generic Disney movie. And now I can officially say that Star Wars has been Disney-ified. I mean, it was on the border of being Disney-ified with Force Awakens, but at least The Force Awakens seemed like it had a voice of its own. Yes, it was very, very, very similar to A New Hope, and that was very frustrating, but it had enough new and original ideas that it was fun. The characters in it were fun. You related to them, you liked them. But in this one, everyone is just so solemn and stone-faced, and they don't say much, and then they shoot people, and it's just boring and so dull. So even though people are saying this is the best Star Wars yet, and it's even better than Empire Strikes Back, you're wrong. You are wrong. Empire Strikes Back is a wonderful movie. A New Hope is a wonderful movie. Return of the Jedi is a great movie. And even Star Wars Episode 7 is a good movie. Rogue One falls right in between the good 4 movies and then the prequels. It's weird because that's exactly where it's positioned in the universe anyway, but that's where I'd rank it, just right there. It's better than the prequels, but it's worse than every single one of the originals and The Force Awakens. It's just there. It's just So in the end, overall, to conclude, to wrap up, to give it a final review, I would say that Rogue One is okay. It's mediocre, I would say. It's fun at some parts. The action is good. Gareth Edwards' direction is really great. Visually, the movie looks pretty incredible at some parts. There's some really wonderful camera work and atmosphere in the first scene of the movie with the storm clouds and the white and black Empire. There's some really wonderful visual moments like that in the movie. But other than that, and the action at the end of the film, this movie is very generic. It's very dry and boring. It's safe, and everything in it that people like is just from another movie, really. Everything in it that people are like, ooh, I loved seeing that, is just from another movie. It's just pandering. It's only in that movie. It's only in Rogue One, so people can say, oh, I recognize that, ooh, and stand up and clap for it. Because like when C-3PO comes on screen, people clapped. And I was like, have you not seen these guys before? They're just, why do they have to be in everything? For me, this movie sucks. This movie sucks. And I'd give it a 5 out of 10. It's not one I'll ever see again. It's not one I ever plan to see again. Even if I'm doing a Star Wars marathon, it's never gonna come up for me. I don't want to see it again. I don't plan on seeing it again. It's 2 hours of my life that I did not care about. It's 2 hours of my life that I can't remember, really.